The other day we spoke about the best goalkeepers in FIFA 23, but in this video we're going to talk about centre-backs, and honestly this one was really hard to do because there are so many good centre-back options in this year's game, some really good value ones as well, and a lot of them obviously I've sadly had to leave out. As per usual in these videos, be active in the comments, let me know your favourite centre-backs in FIFA 23, but before we get into my top 10, let's talk about some centre-backs that actually haven't made my top 10 who I still think deserve a mention. A great example is Varane. He's one of the most popular centre-backs in FIFA 23 and he only costs 10k, so he is actually great value, and I do believe he is a very good centre-back option, but just not quite as good as the 10 that I'm going to show you in a moment, in my opinion anyway. Obviously other people will have a different opinion. We've also got the likes of Inform Saliba, Inform Akanji, Koulibaly, Marquinhos, and players of that ilk who have not made my top 10. So yeah, some really good players are going to have to miss out sadly, but I can only pick 10. And also I've got to give a mention to Ruben Dias, who I think is incredibly underrated this year. I know he doesn't have the same pace as all these other centre backs, but in game he feels a lot quicker than you'd expect. If you haven't tried him, I do recommend him because, like, seriously, there's some occasions where he actually can catch players like Mbappe and Haaland on next gen due to that accelerate type. I almost said body type there. Anyway, let's get into my top 10. And just before we do, one thing to remember is value for money is considered in my personal rankings. So you might see someone a bit higher than you'd expect just because they're a lot cheaper. Hope that makes sense. Let's do this. So, in at number 10 is going to be Tomori, who this year has an absolutely spectacular card. And you can say non-informed Tomori or you can say the special Tomori. Either way, 10th spot for him. Really nice card. I like the fact that it's got the 4-star weak foot, which is good for clearances and stuff like that. He's got good work rates at medium high, some really nice physicals even on his base card, and his defensive stats are also obviously very stacked. Where this guy lacks compared to other centre-back options in the game probably is the passing department. But other than that, it is a really good centre-back option. He's not too expensive, and for Serie A teams, he's definitely a card worth considering, especially if you don't have a massive budget. Following on from him in the 9th spot is 84 rated Eder Militao, who, like he has been for the past few years in FIFA, is just a spectacular defensive option. He's just really good, and he's one of them centre-backs who does feel much more mobile than the other options, which I think is one of the reasons that really does help him in game. That's one of the reasons why I quite like him. He's just easy to control. Obviously got a ton of pace about him. His passing's up to a good standard for a defender. Dribbling also isn't that bad for a CB either. And of course, in regard to defending and physical stats, he obviously does have some notable attributes there. 86 stand tackle, 86 stamina, 85 jumping, all looking pretty good. 86 interceptions as well. So just some really nice stats across the board. And it's just a good card. And obviously has some premium links to some Real Madrid players and of course to Brazilian players as well. Great card, and understandably not actually that cheap. Even though he is 84 rated, he's still going to set you back quite a bit of coinage. It's going to cost you 75k, which is very interesting because you've got a player like Varane who's in the Premier League and he's only 10k, which, like, in a previous year it was the other way around. Varane was the more expensive one versus Militao. Not this year. And with an anchor chem style, this guy is obviously insane. He goes up to 90 pace, and his physicals and defending at that point just become ridiculous. So yeah, Militao with an anchor is without a doubt a premium CB option. We actually have his Real Madrid teammate up next in the form of Rudiger. This guy's card this year is... it's pretty nuts, isn't it? Like, the physicals on it are absolutely class. 90 strength, 92 aggression. He's obviously got a ton of pace, most of it being in the sprint speed. His passing's up to a good standard, 80 short passing. And even his dribbling isn't that bad. It's not crazy. It's definitely worth noting, like, Militao is miles more mobile than Rudiger. But Rudiger's just, he's like a brick wall. He's just so strong, so aggressive in game. And he absolutely gets the job done in that centre-back role. I actually think Rudiger, if he had like better work rates, would stand a chance at ranking higher in this video, but due to the high work rates, I just feel like they just move him around a little bit more than I would like. But still, he's a very good centre-back option, and as long as he's paired with someone who's like medium high or low high, he is just class. He really is. Okay, it's now time to talk about some more expensive options because we've gone pretty cheap so far, but next is Heroes Cordoba. This card is very good this year. I liked it last year. It's even better this year in my opinion. I also was very fortunate enough to pack this card, tradable, so I did end up selling it because the market's just crazy. I don't want to hold anyone of high value, but when I used him, he was absolutely ridiculous. Very mobile centre-back, positionally outstanding, and then once he gets hold of like a would-be attacker, he is winning the ball because he's just like tenacious. He's so aggressive, so strong, and he just wins the ball. His tackling stats are absolutely brilliant. 90 stand tackle, 91 interceptions, 92 heading accuracy. It's all absolutely brilliant in that department. And also, his like on the ball ability is much better than that 68 dribbling on the card does indeed suggest. So yeah, another card which is just absolutely brilliant in game. He obviously does lack in height compared to some other centre backs in the game, and since we do have a bit of a crossing meta in this year's game, that kind of like goes against Cordoba, although he does have elite jumping and heading accuracy, like against like players like Crouch, Ronaldo, etc., he's still going to struggle. So that's probably one of the reasons why he isn't ranking higher this year. But still, I'm telling you, if this card's great, it really, really is. Pair him up with, you know, a taller centre-back on the other side, and you're going to have a absolutely ridiculous centre-back partnership. He is truly class. If you can afford to, try him out. I highly recommend it. Another player who has a bit of a price tag is up next. At the time of recording, Rule Breakers Ramos is around 400k, and honestly, I've got no issues with that price, to be honest. It's a really, really good centre-back card. He's got the pace, he's got the really good defending stats and physicals. 92 aggression, 89 intercepts, 88 stand and slide tackle. He's just really, really good for this stage of the game. And this, to me, in-game, felt like an old-school Sergio Ramos card, where he's got, like, you know, a presence in the back line, and he just does a job. And yeah, he's got the pace to catch people up, he's got the strength to knock them off the ball, and he's got the tackling ability to dispossess them. And then he's also got really solid passing for this stage of the game for a defender as well. So yeah, you could actually use this guy as a CDM in game, and I feel like he'd do a decent job, especially with the right chem style. But as a centre back, he really is elite in my opinion. And to be honest, I don't just think that's my opinion, I think that's fact, and I feel like most people who use him will fully agree. Alright, this is where value for money does come into things. I said at the start of the video, I am taking that into consideration with these rankings, and that's why these next two players have to be in the top 5 for me, just because their value for money is absolutely exceptional. Kimpembe has to feature in this video. For me, I just think he's class this year. He's no longer got them high wear crits, which in previous years were annoying. He's now medium high, and honestly, he's an absolute beast. And on the screen, you can see the card that I've been using like since the very start. Like, he wouldn't have got to that many games if I didn't enjoy him, and I just think this year, he's just once again just so overpowered. He's quick, he's mobile, and although he doesn't have like the physical and defending stats of some other centre-back options, even though they're good, he just has this ability to just block shots that other players seemingly can, and that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love using him, especially as a terrible defender, because I suck at defending. The guy only costs 6k, and honestly, his value for money just has to mean that he's involved in this video, because 6k for him is just ridiculous value. Talking of ridiculous value, we have to have the Barcelona centre-back, Araujo, whose name I'm probably getting wrong in this video. Now, once again, I want to reiterate my point. I'm not saying he's, you know, miles better than the players that he's above in these rankings, but in my rankings, I'm taking that value for money into consideration, and for that reason, this guy has to feature. This is actually the centre-back I hate playing against the most, because he's just so damn good. And like, his stats, although they're nothing, like, they're good, but they're nothing too crazy, but in game, he's just broken. He really, really is. You'll know exactly what I mean if you've used this guy or come up against him. He's so much better than the in-game stats suggest. He's very quick, super strong, and just seems to he's another one of them players who just seems to get them blocks repeat after repeat after repeat, and he costs less than 1k. Like, it has to be the best value card in the game, and that's why I have to rank him so high in this video. I'm not saying, like, man for man, he's better than, let's say, a Rule Breakers Ramos or anything like that, but in terms of value for money, he's better than most cards in the game, because, yeah, 1k for this card is ridiculous. I hate playing against him. I really, really do. He's just that damn good, and when this guy, like, or if this guy starts picking up special cards, they're going to be expensive. They really, really are. So, yeah, one to look out for. Let me know your thoughts on this card in the comments below. But, yeah, it had to feature in this video because 900 coins for this item. Ridiculous. Now, I know I've just spoken about value for money a lot, but for the top 3, it's just elite, elite, elite. The best of the best. In third spot is 92 rated Maldini, and I'm sure like when the primes and all that come out, you can just, you know, switch for the other Maldini. This card's currently costing about 1.1 million, and he's ridiculously good. He really, really is. I feel like he's better this year than he was in previous years. And the only reason I think he's not as expensive as he was in previous years is because obviously icon links just aren't the same as in previous FIFAs. This card, once again, is mad. Great pace, insane defending. You're really not going to get many better defensive stats than what this card has just as a base. And obviously with a chem style, they do become even better. His passing also really, really good for a centre-back with 85 short passing, and obviously the physicals are up to a good standard as well. But when you get this guy and you whack an anchor chem style on him, his physicals then become premium, his defensive stats are pretty much maxed out, and his pace is obviously already elite, but it gets even better. Maldini's awesome, and definitely deserves to be in the top 3. And to be honest, this whole top 3, you could probably switch a bunch of them around and I wouldn't complain, but in my opinion, he's not quite as good, or at least hasn't been for me, as the other 2 options we're about to discuss. In at number 2, just missing out on that top spot, is Virgil van Dijk, and he's actually one which I think is just really well priced. Like, he's not super cheap, and he's also not stupidly expensive. He's only costing around 215k right now, and honestly, that's just a great price for a great card. It really, really is. Stands at obviously a very good height at 6'4", medium high. He's got that lengthy accelerate type, and he just catches, you know, pretty much anyone. Like, the accelerate type really, really helps out Van Dijk this year, I feel, because his acceleration isn't anything crazy, but the sprint speed's very good. But once this guy gets running, he can literally catch anyone in the game. Obviously, very good physical, 6'4", 93 strength, 85 aggression. He's just going to knock people off the ball with ease. Defensive stats are absolutely brilliant. And the guy can certainly pass as well. 86 long passing, this guy can hoof it up the field, which is another brilliant positive to this card. Van Dijk is awesome and is definitely the best centre-back you can buy for Premier League teams this year, but not the best centre-back in the game so far, in my opinion. Who do you think that is? Quickly guess before we reveal. Alright, here we go. At number 1 for me is Heroes Lucio. He is the best centre-back currently available in FIFA 23, in my opinion. I haven't used every single centre-back in the game, obviously, but of all of the ones that I have used, Lucio is definitely number 1. He's not cheap. He's going to cost you around 800k, but honestly, I don't think that's a bad price for what you're getting, because you are getting a really premium defender. He's got the pace, he's just so easy to maneuver, and like, his defending and physicals are just crazy in game, especially them physicals. He's just so good at just knocking people off the ball without any effort. It is such a good card. If you can afford to, just try him out. Even if you can't afford to right now, you save some coins, try him out later in the game. I promise you, he's still going to do a really, really good job. When I reviewed him, like, I knew I was using a premium card, and I even said in the review that this card is going to have like a lot of longevity in the game, because it is just a very, very good centre-back item. Well, I say good, it's a brilliant centre-back item. So yeah, for me, that's number 1. In the comments below, let me know who are your favourite centre-backs in FIFA 23. Let me know which ones you hate coming up against as well. Also, what position should we cover next? Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.